I'm your host, Jay, and this is Cardboard East. And this is Cardboard East, where I review board games published by Asian publishers. Not just manufactured in Asia, because if I did that, that would be like 90% of all the board games on the planet, and I don't have time for that. The Taipei Game Show. Oh, it fell. The Taipei Game Show. For the last 20 years or so, it's been the largest electronic game show in Taiwan. But in 2017, it opened up the board game wonderland. So lots of indie publishers and other board game publishers have been there, showing off their wares, playtesting their games, and showing some of the new releases that they're planning for that year. And consistently from 2017, 2018, and 2019, let's not talk about 2020. And consistently every year that the Taipei Game Show has been around, it's been a good pulse on the board game industry in Taiwan. A good example of which was 2020, when there wasn't a game show, and lo and behold, in 2020, there weren't any new games released in Taiwan. Well, I mean, there was this guy. But we'll talk about him in a little bit. On to the Taipei Game Show. Here I am, standing outside the Taipei Game Show. 2021 is the first year it moved to its new location at the Nangang Expo Center on the east side of Taipei. Years before that, it has always been next to the 101 at the Shimao Expo Center. This year is a little bit interesting because everyone had to line up, have their masks on, temperature check, wash their hands. Also, daily admittance was limited to 7,000 people per day. And I believe that did not include the people inside. Now, enough waiting outside. Let's go ahead and get inside and see what's going on. And oh yes, Taiwanese people play board games. From King of Tokyo to other titles in the West. Naturally, publishers here become distributors of Western games. And they'll localize the games by creating titles and translating them into Chinese. And here we are at the indie video game section. Much like their cousins of the indie board games, several of these publishers also have day jobs, and they design their games in their free time and going to lots of little events like this one to show off their games, get potential users to come and play their games, get feedback, and continue on their process. The main goal of these indie video game publishers is that they're looking for bigger distributors to come in and distribute their games for them. Now, if you're familiar with the Taipei Game Show, it has everything that you would expect E3 to have. It has the big video game publishers from Japan, the Sega, Nintendo, Sony, Capcom. They all come here to Taiwan because it's their backyard and they're going to come and they're going to show. This year, they didn't come. I wonder why. Was it COVID-19? This year, they didn't come. In fact, this year, it was kind of small. Not too small. Every day was restricted to 7,000 people in and out. That didn't include the people working the booths, so technically it's like maybe 8,000. Needless to say that there at the Taipei Game Show, it's mostly a B2B and a B2C. Now the B2C is for all the mobile games. And the B2B are for a lot of the indie publishers, video game publishers that are there showing off their new games, as well as looking for partnerships with bigger companies so that way they can get their games out. Some of the best stuff you'll see there are the after parties that I have never attended, nor was I completely hungover from. No, that didn't happen. What? I'm over 21. I could do that. I could drink. Mom, I don't drink at all. Don't watch this. But you're here to talk about board games, and I'm here to talk about board games. So I went to the Taipei Game Show, and I talked to several of the publishers there. Well, maybe two, maybe three. Okay. So I went to the Taipei Game Show, and I talked to a couple of the publishers there. I talked to them about what was their strategy for last year, how did the pandemic affect their business strategies, what did they do last year since they didn't release any new games, and what their plans are now in 2021 moving forward. Now, normally, there are thousands of board games released every single year, and it's impossible to play them all. And just in Asia alone, there are hundreds of games that are released every year. Last year, I'd say fewer than 100 games from Asia were published. So it was a bit of a dry spell. But that didn't stop other board game publishers from developing new games, designing new games, and getting things ready for 2021.
好久不见，好久不见，好久不见。对，说去年很夸张。对啊，去年疫情很严重。说去年你的商业的战略是什么？好好自己在家里面休息，然后研究游戏，然后希望2021年的时候给大家更好的游戏。对，所以那个今年你会播任何新的游戏吗？会，就是Eros 的续作，对，第二部。有什么差别跟第一和第二？第一部它不需要讲话，它不需要手脚，但续作它完全是一个要讲话、大量讲话的游戏。所以那个还有玩家是一样吗？或是更多？它可以支援到5到10人，5到10人。如果今年你播一个游戏的话，你还会做别的事？对啊，因为我们会有一些，因为自己念心理学出来，然后跟教育心理学有点关系，那我们就想尽办法做一些课程，教老师怎么样在用桌游提起小朋友学习的兴趣，去阅读那些很难的东西。那这么老师来国小、国中、大学？国小老师，国小、国中为主，对。然后会用这样的课程，就是老师不需要会设计游戏，但是老师要会选择游戏，然后拿来教给小朋友，让小朋友知道说，原来这个游戏有这样的知识，然后去学习。所以教他们的游戏可能很好玩，但是可能没有教他们很有用的事。对，有教很多。对，就是让用好玩这件事情，让他们对于很多知识有兴趣，而不是把知识变得好玩，不一样。知识在学习的时候本来就是比较无聊的，对。但是如果他玩到有趣的东西，原来这是这个知识来的啊，那我想要知道这个知识是什么。
Across the board, every single publisher told me that they're going to focus more on Kickstarter this year. And already you can see that with More Ideas, with Mini Express. You can see Itzen Games from Japan with Crash Octopus. Taiwan Board Game Design has Legendary Smooks told me that they'll be launching their first Kickstarter later this year. A lot of the Taiwan board game publishers will be launching their Kickstarters around Q2 or Q3 because, Essen's still a thing. Not that anyone's going to go. I'm not going to go. Are you going to go? No, I don't want to go. That's dangerous. I would like to go. It's nice. Sausages. Best sausages in the world.
所以今年你有新的任何游戏吗
？Yeah，我们计划要出3款。
3款，去年是几款？
去年 nothing，
没有吗？
对啊，
因为你没有去东京，对吗？
没有去东京，也没有去 SM， 我们去年都 stay in 台湾。
所以今年你觉得那个 SM 会发生吗？会不会
？I hope not 我希望可以顺利的进行。
所以最近你最红的桌游是哪一个
？Of course, Hanamikoji is the best sales in the world.
还有今年你有第2部，对吗？
对，我们还有花剑的第2部曲。
你觉得是 Q1、Q2、Q3？
我们在 we're planning to make the KS project. It will make it more bigger and more specially.
Okay.
But it's not 还没有决定。
没决定。
因为我们在。
那是明年。
No.
一定是今年。
因为花剑2的美术跟规则已经在测试在进行。
好。
那我们希望是在年中或者是在 ASEAN 之前可以有一个 KS project。I hope so. 对。那个前年你有 Walking in Murano， 去年你有 Walking in Province， 今年你再播一个 Walking Game。 今年应该不会 Not Walking Everywhere。今年我们预计要做2个，就是 business economics 相关的游戏类型。
太好了。
Cooperation with Press Designer and TBD Smooks.
Smooks. So Smooks
粹设计一样。哇，最经典的游戏比较大的那个吗？是大盒吗？或是中间的？因为我知道你们有小盒、中盒、大盒。
对，我们有应该是一个小盒的跟一个中间的，不是一个too big的游戏。
哦，加油
Thank you.
Now, at the Taipei Game Show, there are showgirls. I mean, it's a thing. Do you not know what showgirls are? Okay, let's talk about showgirls. So showgirls are girls that are paid to be there just in cosplay, to hand out flyers, to host things, just to sit there and look pretty and have lots of dudes and girls take pictures of them. It's not awkward at all. Yeah, I did it. I was there. I got my picture taken with them. But you want to talk about games, right? That's why we're here? Okay, let's talk games. Biggest news there is publisher Emperor S4, publisher of everyone's favorite Hanama Koji, will be releasing Hanama Koji 2 this year. I've played it, and it's good. I think I like it better than this one. Like I said before, there weren't many new games released last year. So here at Taipei Game Show 2021, they were showing some of the earlier releases, not just from 2020, but also from 2019. Some of those were like Formosa T, which that's a lot heavier than I thought. It's a midway Euro about tea. Think viticulture, but for tea. Good times. Soloween, easily one of the best games to come out in 2019. It was there, they're still selling it, and it's selling really well. I wrote a review on BGG and cardboardeast.com, so go to the website and check it out. One of the best abstracts you'll ever play. Some of the other games in 2019 include Natsu Memo, or in Chinese, it's basically Summer Vacation Journal. Easily my favorite roll and write, flip and write. It's a party game, plays 3 to 6. There are some questionable issues about gender identity, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Sadly, none of the publishers will be bringing this to America because a lot of themes and the mechanics are all really drenched in Asian culture, especially for elementary school and junior high, and they're afraid that it may not translate over. But if you can find it, I can't recommend this enough. Easily one of the best games of 2019. Rumble Nation. You want a quick 20-minute war game? This is Rumble Nation. Now, there are like 3 different versions of this. This is the one you want, the one from Hobby Japan. It's nicer, it's cleaner, it's got a better board, and the rule books are maybe like 4 or 5 different languages. How many languages are there in the world? I don't know. If you're looking for a nice 30-minute area control war game, this is the one you want. Now, there are 3 versions of this, and this is the one you want, the one from Hobby Japan, because it has better art. The other 2 kind of look like a prototype. Like, get your money's worth and get this one. One of the few games to come out last year in 2020 was The 3 Little Wolves. This is by Poki Design. He is known as a Taiwanese designer who makes a lot of his early prototypes by hand. By prototypes, I mean like 500, 100 copies by hand, and then he sells them at little events here and there. Now this is the final version. 3 Little Wolves is a 20-minute card game about wolves building skyscrapers, and then the big bad evil pig with the mustache, because some reason, evil people wear mustaches. I don't know why. It's a nice, light card game, 20 minutes, excellent filler. But the Taipei Game Show isn't all about Taiwan board games. There are also board games from Singapore and Thailand. One of the greatest things about 2019 was the momentum of the Asian board game industry. Publishers from Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, all talking to each other, all going to each other's conventions everywhere. Business was good. And then 2020 happened. Also, the Taipei Game Show aren't just Taiwan board games, but board games from all over Asia, like Singapore, Thailand, and Japanese games that they bring over. Walk and Roll, excellent roll and write about owning your own Chinese restaurant, cooking dishes, being mean to your opponents, good times. And the boards are gorgeous, bright, and colorful. Last Hand Standing, is like being in a Saw movie where everyone's hand is glued to the table and you're trying to cut off the other player's fingers so that way you could be the last one with fingers and win the game. A little dark, but really heavy on the math and really good times. And if you don't want anyone to be playing with their phone at the table, this is the game to play because they can't use their phone if both their hands are in the game. Also at the Taipei Game Show was Mini Express by Mo Ideas Game Design. If you're not familiar with Mini Express, hey, it's okay. Not everyone can be cool. Medium weight train game, plays in an hour. Cube Rails, what's not to love? Excellent board game, probably one of the best games that they've ever published. Now, there were more board games at the Taipei Game Show, and I'm not going to include them all here in this video because that would just take too much time. But if you want to check out the photos, you can head to my Facebook or my Instagram where I posted a lot of the photos up for everyone to see and check out. Once again, this has been Cardboard East. My name's Jay. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and here. So head on over to cardboardeast.com and see what I'm all about. Thanks for watching.